Well, a covert CIA program is at least partially responsible for helping Colombian government forces kill at least 24 rebel leaders. That is according to the Washington Post, which says it's interviewed more than 30 former or current U.S. and Colombian officials. The Post reports that the National Security Agency secretly helped Colombian forces eavesdrop on the rebel insurgency known as FARC. The CIA is not commenting on the Post article. Well, New York Congressman Peter King is an outspoken backer of the National Security Agency's surveillance programs. This week, he advised President Obama to ignore a newly released report on recommendations and limits to the agency's program, saying it's a phony issue. Let's ask him about it. He joins us now live from New York. Welcome, Congressman.
Thank you, Shannon. Merry Christmas to you.
And Merry Christmas to you as well. Please explain for us why you think that concerns about the NSA and these new recommendations, why this amounts to a phony issue.
Yeah, Shannon, the reason I say that is even the president in his press conference the other day, he said that the intelligence gathered by the NSA is very important, that there's no indication of any scandal or abuse, and that the Snowden leaks have caused great damage. So based on the fact that there's no abuse and that the intelligence we gather is important, then I don't see why there's such a rush to reform something which is working, which is monitored by the courts, monitored by the Justice Department, and monitored by the Congress, by the intelligence committees in both the House and the Senate. To me, this is really a hysteria out there caused by Snowden. But when you go down to it, there's really no abuse. And it's performed invaluable assistance in cases such as the Zazi subway attack in New York City in 2009. The NSA was primarily responsible for stopping that.
All right. And of course, we know that this is a very delicate balance. We've got the Fourth Amendment. Americans are rightfully so very concerned about their own privacy. It is a right we're guaranteed, absent warrants and those kinds of legal protections. There have been so many court rulings on this. But this week, of course, we see the one from Judge Leon, federal judge, who had a lot to say about this program. He called it almost Orwellian, some of the NSA programs, and he said in his 68-page opinion that the government didn't cite a single instance in which the program actually stopped an imminent terrorist attack. Is he wrong about that?
Yeah, I think he's totally wrong. In fact, I actually worked with Judge Leon one time when I was on the banking committee as a member of Congress, and he was a special counsel he brought in. So generally, I have a great regard for him. But in this case, actually, the NSA and the government did cite a number of instances, but he felt it didn't satisfy him. Now, under the separation of powers, a judge has nothing to say about what's good intelligence or what's not. That's for the commander-in-chief. That's for the Congress, but especially the commander-in-chief. And the executive department has determined that this intelligence is important, has been important, and now he was going way out of his lane in making that decision. Because it is not for him to decide what's valuable and what's not. He's not an intelligence expert. He's a judge. He went way beyond what I think he's entitled to under the Constitution.
Well, and there's a lot of question about what role judges do play. We think of the FISA court, which is a secret court. I mean, we know who the judges are. They're appointed by the Chief Justice of the United States to make decisions about this so that the programs can be protected to some extent, that methods and things that would tip off our enemies would not become public. But at the same time, there's a lot of criticism about those courts, how they operate, and whether or not there should be someone there, a public advocate, because it's basically one-sided. The government goes in, makes its argument, and that's it. Would you be for, and this was on the task force recommendations, would you be for some type of third party, a public advocate, somebody to go into those hearings and advocate on behalf of average American citizens?
No, Shannon, I wouldn't, because the fact is, throughout the rest of our legal system, whether it involves child pornography, organized crime, whatever, the fact is these are what are called one-sided. There is no defense advocate in there. It's the judge and the prosecutor. If a person is going to get a search warrant, there's no adversary in there. If a person is going to be indicted, he's not. There is no lawyer in there representing the defendant. It's always, in these cases, ex parte between the judge and the prosecutors. And so, to me, there's not even a constitutional need to have a FISA court. The court itself is a protection. But no, I do not want to have an adversary in that room. Again, if it was an ordinary, decent criminal, quote unquote, they would not be entitled to have it. I don't see why a terrorist should be entitled to have an adversarial proceeding when no one else is guaranteed that.
And Congressman King, while we have you quickly, is there anything that you could tell us about the report we had earlier about the CIA assisting in Colombia? Anything that you know or that you could share?
Shannon, I cannot comment on that. I'm on the Intelligence Committee. I cannot comment. But I will say the NSA performs extraordinary service around the world for the United States as far as providing intelligence and providing information that enables us to do our job. We live in a dangerous world, and there's many killers and terrorists and murderers out there. The NSA does a very impressive job, very important job, as far as working with all of our allies and working with our own government to, to stop it and to keep it down.
Yes, the agency and its folks doing a lot of very important work, and of course, keeping that balance will be key to convincing Americans of that. Congressman, thank you so much.
Shannon, thank you, and again, Merry Christmas to you.
You too.